Okay, well, thank you also from my side for having us. And I think probably this is the youngest project. It's actually maybe 10 days old. So I feel very fortunate to have you all sitting here. And I'm also very happy that you guys started these LOCUS talks. I think you were referring to me as one of the people who gave this feedback. And I feel today I'm actually bringing in a research question and a lot of questions on how to tackle this with the tools, or the tool I want to use, and with text analysis. So I'm hopefully going to be able to pick your brains. So the topic is, or what I'm envisioning to do is, from a distance, reading from a distance, effective responses to otherness in German literature between 1779 and 1961. This is part of a graduate seminar I'm taking right now on ethnicity, otherness, and race in Germany. It started with the idea that I want to look, or that I would like to look at these six texts, which were all written in this time frame between 1779 and 1961. And I want to use the text analysis tool Voyant for this. This is the first time I'm ever doing something like text analysis, so I heard it was not too complicated. And I've tried it and I found it not to be too complicated. And what I want to look at is whether there are patterns in these works, right? And more specifically, I want to look at, as the title suggests, whether I can find a pattern of an effective response to otherness. So all of these texts deal in one way or another with another, right? Most of them deal with the Jewish other. One of them deals with Africans, which are constructed as others, which is Die Verlobung in Santo Domingo by Kleist. And I read all of these texts, and when reading them, I was prompted with the question whether there is not a pattern related to affect, right? That comes out as a response to this otherness. Because I found that otherness is constructed in these texts in very different and very diverse ways, right? You have sometimes the Jew is constructed as the other because he represents capitalism, then otherness is constructed because of skin color, so there's a variety of different ways otherness is constructed, but I am interested in exploring whether we can find a pattern that's related to affectivity, to affect, right? Whether there's a common pattern that all of these texts have an effective response to this otherness. Well, that can be kind of assigned to all of them. So how do I want to do that with text analysis? I was hoping that I would tell you what I have been thinking, right, and what I've been doing so far, and then I would be really curious to hear what you think about this. And as I said, this is my first attempt on those kind of things. So I was looking at text collocation, right? And I know all of you, I know now, are all specialists in this, so I don't need this definition, but for me that was important. Like, looking at words that appear next to each other, as a non-native speaker, text collocation also sounded very confusing to me, but so that's what I was going to do. That's what I tried to do. So the first thing I did was I looked at words that are associated with other or otherness in the text, and this is obviously based on my knowledge of the text, right? So I did a simple frequency run. Then I looked at a word that I know resembles otherness in this text, and I exported the keywords and context of this word and put them into a new text file and imported it again to Voyant and did another frequency search with them. And then I checked that list for words that I found also based on my knowledge of the text, so talking about like the hybridity approach, right? I looked at that frequency list for emotionally charged words, or words that I would deem like affect words. Okay, and then I did like a recheck of these words, either by going back into the text and seeing whether these are actually emotionally charged words they used in that sense in the text, or whether, you know, the text analysis tool Voyant read them maybe wrong, or not in the way that I wanted it to read it. Then I'm planning to do this same process for all 6 texts, and then to the exciting part, compare the results I get. So are there overlaps in the type of words that I used, or maybe in synonyms that I use that are emotionally charged? Are there maybe certain types of words that I use a lot? Is it maybe verbs, or is it maybe nouns, or is it maybe adjectives, and what does it tell us about the type of affect, if I find an affective pattern, or like a pattern of affect in it? And next I have just a quick example, basically showing what I just explained. You can see, sorry, I need to go back for this. You can see here, so the top left picture is just the text that I imported, and I run the Voyant program, employ the stop word list, the standard German one that's in the program. I got the top left, the bottom left image, and on the right you can see the frequency list. And based on, as I said, based on my knowledge of the text, I'm interested in the construction of otherness for the Jew in this story, which is Nathan. So I looked at Nathan and at Jude, which is the German word for Jew. Then I did what I explained earlier. On the left side, you can see the words in context list, right? So you can set the context up to 25 words. So I have 25 words on the left and 25 words on the right that appear every time around the word Nathan or the word Jew in the text. I took those, exported it into a plain text file, and imported that text file again, treated it as if it was the entire text. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then I got these, on the right side, the 2 long ones, I got the frequency count for the words that appear around Nathan or the words that appear around Jew. And I found some things that I think are interesting, but just from my intuitive, first exploration of this, I found Wunder, which means wonder, to be quite often used around the word Nathan. And I found Freund, which means friend, to be used quite often around the word Jew. And then there's also Elend, which didn't appear, how would you translate Elend? German? Strange foreign. Yeah, but it all has a very negative connotation. Misery, yeah, like misery, yeah. So that in itself, I was like, well, yeah, that's kind of interesting. But then I did a recheck of these words, and I ran Freund, friend, Elend, misery, and wonder separately with the original text. And I found that actually when this word is used, it's used in the context of Nathan or Jew. So Freund, friend, only appears it appears 7 times in the context of Jew, and 17 times in the entire text. Elend, misery, appears 4 or respectively 5 times with Jew and Nathan, and 5 times in the entire text. So every time it's used, it's in the context of Nathan. And Wunder appears 13 times in the context of Nathan and 19 times in the text in general. So I thought I could maybe do something with that. And then I did the same thing for some others. I haven't found as interesting results as I did in Nathan der Weise. I haven't done all of the texts yet. I'm not going to talk about them because I think it takes too much time. In this case, I have, as you can see on the frequency list, I have the problem of having a very unclean text. I have very weird signs that appear very often, and I need to clean the text first before I can proceed with that one. So yeah, and I think that's it. I'm just going to stop with some challenges I found in the last days that I would be happy to get some feedback on. Is first of all my definition of effective response. Maybe I need to rephrase this. I certainly need to focus in on it. What exactly do I mean by it? But how can I frame it in a way that I can actually work with these text analysis tools in a better way? That's one question. What other options do I have for control searches? And if there are any other ideas in this room on how affectivity can be allocated and used in these text analysis tools, especially, you guys, and that's why I was asking about the concreteness, right? How do you do that? And maybe also something, considering the feasibility of this project as a seminar paper, I won't be able to do a study where I have a bunch of people assigning value to words. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.